All right. We have another friendly face in here with us. If y'all can't tell, if you're on Spotify, then obviously you can't tell. But the wonderful Abbey Smith is with us.
Hello,
Abby,
how's it
hi.
going?
Hello.
Oh, welcome to Duck Boys.
Yeah, welcome to Duck Voice. My name is Sam.
I'm Tristan, and as we said earlier, this is Abby.
All right. Very, very good. If for those of y'all who don't remember, Abbey Smith is the one that had us on for a little collaborative effort with a documentary that she did over people who had started podcasts, especially those during the pandemic. So we are very glad to have her here as a sort of thank you to extend her way for reaching out to us. So we hope that we can return the favor.
So basically, we're gonna start off the podcast with just a little lighter thing of did you watch the Grammys, Abby?
I didn't. I know that's such a sin being a film student. I haven't had
say.
a chance just yet.
You're not the only one, so it's okay.
So it's just me who saw the Grammys. Grammys was actually really cool. I mean, it was a lot longer this year. Some people say it had a larger viewership. Other people say it didn't, but like other people, I've also seen reports of like, yes, it didn't have a large viewership, but like everybody that watched it stayed. So it's one of those quantity over quality or quality over quantity kind of things. Because within the first hour, only one award had been given out, but it was because most of it was just like concerts.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like performances and stuff. Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak or Pack or whatever. They performed under Silk Smooth. That was nice.
You know, I did get to see the intro of it where they were doing like a dedication to all the people that have passed this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really nice tribute to all the people. I did get to see Bruno Mars do his tribute as well, which was really good.
That was dope.
Bruno is a born entertainer. I didn't see that, but I just know it's good because
it was fantastic.
Mr. Mars.
Oh, Beyonce made history. She's now the like for sure out of women, the most accomplished within like the Grammys for awards. Her daughter Blue Ivy also is broke a record as the youngest person to ever win a Grammy. It was a Grammy for her music video. Apparently, she has like a song out or something like that, and it's her music video.
Does anybody know off the top of their head how old Blue Ivy is?
I feel like she's like 6.
I feel like she has to be young.
You're
Like she
kidding.
can't be.
Yeah. But yeah, Beyonce is now tied. I want to say tied in second for overall with Quincy Jones for most amount of. She's 9.
9 years old for Blue Ivy. That is.
It's insane.
Jesus.
I
mean, that's just raw talent at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And especially since her mom is so talented, it makes sense.
Yeah, if your mom's Beyonce, then you should probably kind of live up to something.
Right. I mean, the Queen Bee.
There's
got to be something there.
What about Billie Eilish? Did she win any?
She won Album of the Year. Don't quote me on that. I forget which one, but she won one of the like bigger ones. She had like a really cool moment where she was like, I really think Megan Thee Stallion should have won this, because Megan Thee Stallion, she like won a lot. She won like almost a whole night. It was a big night for like Houston because Beyonce won things, Megan won things.
I don't mean to interrupt. For Record of the Year, it was Billie Eilish, Everything I Wanted.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, Billie Eilish has had like a trend with her speeches. She's always been like, I shouldn't have won, this other person should have won, which, is humbling, but I think that she deserves it just as much.
Yeah, I would say I was like, you have to also know your self-worth too.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the entertainment business, we all kind of dabble in it. Why is my dog barking?
Also dabbling in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
The wrong kind.
Barking up the wrong tree, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyways, we're all in the entertainment business in one form or the other. Abby, if I remember correctly, you are in LA for acting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Acting.
How's that been going?
Well, it seems that I've moved up here at the wrong time, being the start of COVID, obviously. I don't think anyone really expected it to hit the film industry so hard. But besides that, just being in college at that same time, it kind of helps because I guess focusing on your education rather than like small projects and internships, it works out because we're all in this like learning process of just trying to figure out like what exactly we want to do in media and
Right.
just like learning more about it. So that's basically what I've been doing.
Have you learned anything about what specifically you want to do?
Yeah, I feel like being in film classes, your teachers definitely hype you up and they kind of build that ego of like you can do anything that you want to do.
Right.
And that if you set limitations for yourself, you know, you're going to fall to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just made me realize that I want to dabble in everything. And it seems that most film students do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to put themselves towards one thing. So I definitely want to try like directing if that ever comes up. Obviously, that's a big ask. I love editing. Anything with editing, I'm in. In front of the camera, behind the camera, that's where I want to be.
Awesome.
Very good. Yeah, it's good to know your craft from all angles too. So it's
Mhm.
exciting that you're interested and invested in all these different aspects of it.
Yeah, because for a while there, I don't know if our like you said, our limited fan base knows this, but I also do acting. I've been in a few short films, mainly student films and things like that. And I think being behind the camera was almost just as important as getting experience in front of the camera because like I know what the director wants from me as an actor. And then as a writer also, it's like, okay, this is how they wrote it this way for a reason. So like, how am I best going to portray this? I don't know if you've had similar experiences with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So something that they actually require at my school, I go to UCI and they require you to do both acting in front of the camera as well as directing because it gives you insight of like what a director actually wants and what you should actually be doing as an actor. It kind of gives you, like you said, both sides.
Sam is a newbie in this whole thing of kind of performance arts with especially with this as Duck Boys, because at the end of the day this is a performance art. We just so happen to be naturally gifted at talking mainly to each other.
Let's say what Tristan means to say is I'm naturally gifted in not knowing when to shut the fuck up. And by way of that, I have forced myself into the entertainment industry, whether they were wanting to have me or not. So, and as funny as that is, talking and doing a lot of it has actually started to weasel me into a more definitive role in this industry. I won't reveal too much quite yet because I'm kind of excited to see how it unfolds, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, put the cart in front of the horse, as it were. But I have been in talks with a gentleman who will hopefully, fingers crossed, serve as a mentor figure to me to help me get into voice acting and voiceover work. So it's very exciting, and I really hope that it pans out the way that it seems as though it will. As far as how that ties in with the entertainment industry, it seems like a lot of it is dependent on who you know just as much as what you know.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You can be as skilled in your craft as you want, but unless you really know the right people or know the right ear to get in, there can be a lot of doors that are closed for you. So that was very, very fortunate to sort of stumble upon that, as it were.
Yeah, to kind of like play off of that, like connections. I mean, look at editors on YouTube, like editors who have their own channel about editing, right? Like Corridor Digital and stuff like that. They're fantastic at VFX, especially for a limited budget, and like on a YouTube budget. And they've done really, really well for themselves, and they're starting to get a name out there, and starting to work on big projects. But I mean, they've been around for a long time, and it hasn't given them time to like perfect their craft and to teach others how they do it. Yeah, which it plays into, I guess, their role. But going into it, I bet you their goal was to go and be like, okay, well, within the next year or so, we'll be picked up by some big names, and we'll go from there, and like big names, and go into Hollywood or whatever. because I've thought about the same thing, right? Of like, well, just do these YouTube stuff, and it's worked out for one of my friends who maybe one day I'll have on the podcast, because he's in Hollywood now, and he started off just doing YouTube videos, but it was a lot of he knew a guy, and like his mom knew somebody or his dad knew somebody, right? And that's you can in Hollywood, you can very easily be forgiven for lack of skill as long as you know the right person, because their mindset is you'll learn, compared to like you can have all these degrees and all this other stuff, but if you don't know the right person, you're not going to get into the door. I mean, that's kind of the allure of Hollywood, right? Of like, these are these people that we kind of put above other people. They are celebrities. Some people would like almost literally deify them, right? They are just people, but at the end of the day, we see them as Hollywood actors and actresses. So yeah, to come back around, yeah, it is completely about knowing your craft, but also knowing somebody who's in your craft already.
Right. Knowing somebody is half the craft.
Yeah, exactly.
With entertainment anyways. So it's interesting to sort of see everybody else's different journeys, like your friend that you were talking about with their sort of break into Hollywood, right? A foot in the door. Which I'm sure not to discredit your friend, it is also a matter of skill. You can't just get in and not know anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's worked with Aaron Paul at this point. Like he's worked with big names. Why did you? Aaron Paul's not dead.
I thought it was just shout out to my boy.
Oh, I was like, bro, what?
No.
I was like, I mean, I haven't seen, like, I was like, I know he survives Breaking Bad. I was like, I haven't seen El Camino because I haven't watched all of Breaking Bad yet.
No, he's not dead. I just watched his house tour the other day, which, by the way, Aaron Paul has a gorgeous home.
It's like out in Wyoming or some shit, right?
It's in Idaho, which like he mentions in the video. You hear Idaho, you think potatoes, and like that's fine because nobody else needs to be here. We want to keep this to ourselves. It's gorgeous. He has a gorgeous home and precious little family. So,
do you guys mind if I add something about networking?
No, please do.
Go for it.
So on the topic of networking, I think it's really important to add that you don't have to live in a place like Hollywood or like Atlanta, Georgia to be able to like talk to people in the industry. For people who aren't actually doing like film majors like I am, it's really hard to network in person. Mm-hmm. There tends to be like a lot of online apps. I know one app that a lot of my actor friends use is like Backstage, and that tends to be like a door opener, and there's so many other things that you can do, but if you are not consistent in your craft and you're not constantly reaching out to people in the industry like via Instagram or LinkedIn, then you're not going to find those opportunities. Mm-hmm. There's so many people who are doing short films or just looking for someone to fill like a slot of being an actor and actress. You just have to seek out those opportunities because they're going to be there. Yeah. Everyone needs to just reach out, and that's how you get those roles.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I know it's a little bit difficult because of COVID and whatnot. And, I know for Abbey's state of California, it's way more locked down than it is here in Texas. But if you can go on campus and, it's okay to film, because it's okay to film now, right? You just have to have procedures, right? I have Backstage. I remember the other day I got scared because I saw like $165 hit to my bank account, and I was like, what the hell was that? And I forgot that I have like Backstage premium stuff. So to make sure that I have like, it sends in a resume and it saves my resume and things like that. Yeah, no. And like, I'm willing to drive, and you have to be willing to drive to different places, especially in places like Texas that are very big, or if you're not close to a major city, you're gonna have to drive to the nearest major city at the very least. For me, my range is I can drive up to Dallas, which is 3 hours away. I can drive down to Houston, which is an hour and a half, or Austin or San Antonio that are 2 hours away, or 4 hours away. But if you're really dedicated to it, you will. luckily my college is pretty decent about having film stuff, and that's when networking on campus works a lot too. Like I will go in and people still put up flyers and bulletin board on the bulletin boards, and like that's how I find a lot of my things. Hopefully I'm going to be on a show that are, because we have a network, like the Sam Houston has like an actual channel, and they put out different talk shows and stuff like that. And so,
my friend does that.
oh yeah, yeah. I signed up to be one of the guests, and I haven't heard back anything. I'm hoping I do at some point, because I did it like on the last day before spring break kind of thing. But it's just little things like that, and like even calling the number on the flyer that you see that's stapled to like a wall outside kind of thing. Just little things like that, and you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who knows somebody else. Networking, right?
Absolutely.
Networking for sure.
But you got to be safe, like whenever you're going to types of events, like whether it's bringing a friend or just sharing your location with someone. It's important because you have to make sure that you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's not like a Moe's back alley actor and actress meetup. I mean, be mindful.
Yeah, be smart about where, like, the flyer situation thing that I said about, if it's in the back part of a bar and it's covered in a homeless person's urine, probably shouldn't be calling that one.
Perhaps not.
But if it's at your school, or it's around your town and not in like a sketchy place, the 9 times out of 10, especially student films are, I don't want to say always safe, because they're not, because we've had things go on, but they're most of the time safe because they're regulated by the school.
Sure.
And you get to, it's for an actor, especially an actor who, I've been in a few things, definitely can count on 2 hands how many films and stuff I've been in, maybe even one. It's still daunting to go into like, okay, well, we are these big boy producers doing these big boy things. And you're like, oh shit, do I really know what I'm doing? Compared to the student films, we're all learning, right? I mean, that's the whole point of having a student film, is that you're learning and you can make mistakes and things like that. It's good experience, to say the least.
It is. And honestly, those are the stepping stones that take you to the big ones.
It's the most uncomfortable situations that yield the most potential for growth. I feel like that mentor.
And it builds confidence for sure.
It definitely, that possible mentorship that I'm working on. I reached out to the mentor in question, and sort of like waiting for that phone to ring, right? And the anticipation building up, and then when it finally clicked on the other end, and you get, in that radio voice, because he's a radio guy. Hey, is this Sam? I'm like, whoa, okay, this is a little real. Like, yeah, that's me. Yes. It's, again, you gotta put yourself in these uncomfortable places, because if you only stay the places that you'll know, or that you're only going to do things that you've already done. Sounds very cliche, but I mean, for good reason.
Yeah,
it holds true.
I was like, cliches are made for a reason, right? At least they hold on for a reason. Sam, what have you been learning as you're in your infancy of really leaning into this entertainment business thing? What are your thoughts, and what are your I guess hypothesis of like, this is how of course we shouldn't expect things, but this is how you would assume something that would go down. And Abby and I, still in maybe our teenage years of being in this business, still young, but we have a little bit of experience in this, so maybe we can help you out, help with any fears, or help you prepare for anything that's to come, no matter what part of the industry you're in.
I think with where I'm at right now, it's a delicate balance of not having low expectations of yourself, but not having high expectations of the situation. Right, giving yourself credit where credit is due, but not expecting anything to come from the situation, because that way you're never disappointed.
Right.
If you go into it thinking that everything will be the same as before, and if something changes, great. If not, that's exactly what you expected. It's a again, it's a delicate balance because, like you said, you don't want to undermine yourself. A huge part of this entertainment business, and kind of what I discussed with the gentleman on the phone, is, you know, half the battle, or even more than half the battle, is just self marketing. So if you get on a call with somebody who's potentially, like Abby was talking about, your big stepping stone, that doorway, getting your foot in the door, and they're like, okay, what makes you good? And you just freeze up, and you're like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm good, but if you sort of stutter and that's your first impression,
Yeah.
what are you left with?
At the end of the day, because this goes into anything that has to do with interacting with other people, it's always going to be confidence. Right now I have, and I'll touch more on this for this is why we clink. I have some of my boys over for spring break, and we went to the mall today, and I wanted to style them up. They dress like normal straight cis dudes, and they're good. I was like, that's both of us, but like just like jeans that like don't really fit them right, Nike shoes, and like a t-shirt kind of thing. And so I was like,
Fuck you.
Nike running shoes, not sneakers, running shoes.
For the record, if you're not watching with camera feed right now, definitely have jeans and white Nikes on right now. So
nah, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. You have a parachute pants on and Docs. You have
Dude,
Doc Martens on.
I wish I was cool enough to pull off parachute pants.
But like that kind of goes into what I was saying, was that like we were walking out to my car, and, I'm dressed how I'm dressed now, and if you're listening, I'm naked, but
we're all three naked over here.
Yeah, we're just vibing together.
Right.
No, but Sam does have his parachute pants on.
I do. That's the only thing I have on.
Yeah.
Parachute pants and confidence.
Anyways, yeah, no, they my buddies, we were walking down to my car, and they were like, oh, I think one thing that helps with Tristan is the fact that like when it comes to like picking up girls, which doesn't matter to me anymore because I have a lovely girlfriend, is that like he wears really nice clothes. And I was like, not really. I was like, I wear my confidence out. I was like, I have my chest up, I have my head up. I was like, and people see that. And I was like, not even just people of the opposite sex or whatever you're attracted to. It's just people. Everybody sees it, because I can tell. We can all tell when somebody's like really meek and like kind of like not sure of themselves versus somebody who like kind of stands up tall, right? I mean, I don't know. I think confidence is a big thing. Abby, do you have anything to add onto that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, you wear your confidence. There's a lot of talk about like dressing the part that you want to be. Connecting that to like the film industry, whenever you have confidence and whenever you dress well, people notice that. The first thing people notice about you is your outward appearance. So it's always good to dress like the part that you actually want to be. And like you said, like not all of you is just like the way that you dress, it's how you feel on the inside.
Yeah, because like it's one of those, when people say don't judge a book by its cover, that's literally what the cover of a book's for. Like I'm not going to pick up a book if it's just like this brown leather casing versus like something with like really nice artwork that kind of Sam, why are you laughing?
Why'd you go after the Bible so hard, dude? I'm not gonna pick up a book if it's like a brown leather casing.
Bro, I did. Oh, where the fuck? Where is it? It's I brought it, but like I literally has a brown leather casing. My Bible has a brown leather casing on it. Yeah, brown leather casing, and it's got these like the holy whatever
stupid gold letters on it that say Holy Bible or whatever the hell that's about.
Not to come at you, but mine's like rainbow colored, so.
Oh, that's lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, Jesus loves rainbows.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, I say about Jesus Christ.
Hell yeah. Bro, my man was the ultimate frat god, dude. He made water into wine. He had to be a frat god.
I think that I would strongly consider getting an image tattooed of Jesus Christ slapping a wine bag on my
Yeah,
left
dude.
pec.
And like half of it's color and the other half isn't. Like it's water turning into wine, and it's like as the twist comes down. Or like as like they're pouring it into his mouth, there's just water in the bag, but it's wine coming down into his mouth.
Yeah, his hand's really aerodynamic when he smacks the bag because he's got holes in it.
Oh,
Oh,
that one hurt.
I'm sure it hurt him too.
Yeah.
Anyways,
not to become a religious slander podcast.
My toes are getting a little hot right now. I feel like there's like flames or something, whatever that's
I
about.
don't know. I was like, am I getting cold? I think I'm getting closer to the ninth circle.
Dante's hell. You know, very
Yeah.
culturally appropriate. Look at
Yeah,
you.
right. Welcome. I read.
I read things. I'm literate. I see what that picture says behind you. Leaf.
Le fait. It's a French word. What's it mean?
Life.
Viva la vida loca. Anyways, to go back into the entertainment business and things that kind of go around it, what are some of the things that y'all want changed in it? I know, big question. But you know, we're midway through podcast. You gotta hit them with a good question.
But you go ahead. I'm gonna let you
I'll
pick
go
this
ahead.
one up first.
Okay.
Just because I don't have a lot of it. I need to think about this one.
Right. Well, first off is like any sort of culture of like sexism, racism, or anything like that, and like sexual harassment, because it happens. First off, it happens on both sides of the aisle, and of course, more male to female. And you know, we should. I was talking to my dad kind of about this, right? Where there is, I touched on it earlier about the allure of being a Hollywood person, right? Of being the superstar. And like, that's kind of what makes them cool, is the fact that they are for some odd reason, we've said they're better than us for whatever reason. But now with like newer generations, we see them just as people, right? You know, we see them like, oh, they have flaws, they have this, they have that. I don't know, like, I understand where my dad was coming from, of, you know, that's kind of a driving motivator to become this person. But at the same time, you need to still remember that you're not that. You're still a human. It's just that this is your job, and your job just so happens to be in front of millions of people. You know, it's like deifying politicians, right? You know, these are people who are supposed to be a regular person, the common man, if you will. So why make them into these figureheads, if you will? So I guess if I would change anything, I would change the feeling of superstardom. It's going to be there no matter what, because people are fans, and that's okay. And I think Hollywood's heading in this direction already, of like being real. But I would definitely want it to keep going. And then, of course, with anything bigoted, like racism and sexism and harassment of all sorts.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It's the respect quality that I think is missing from Hollywood. Just like, I think something that people don't talk about often is that Hollywood stars also have mental health issues. And when we go on social media, it's just so easy to comment hateful things. And it's like, if it was your friend or a stranger who was not famous, you wouldn't comment those things. Mm-hmm. But there's almost this excuse that because people are famous, that you can just say whatever you want, and you can't.
Can't. Yeah, I guess it ties into my point of like, they're human too, right? You know,
they are human too.
They have these emotions, they have these goals, and you know, sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive, but either way, it doesn't give you any excuse as a person to slander them in any sort of way.
There's two sides of this same coin that fame buys, right? In that you have the humanity part of it, right? You have to realize that these actors are human. They're just regular people like us. And then in some cases, you also have the actors that need to recognize you're human, just like us. It does often become more about their status than about their craft, I feel, especially when you reach those, A tier actors and actresses that I feel like it's very easy to get in your head just by being me. I'm famous. You don't, I feel like maybe I feel incorrectly about this. I don't know. I'm willing to be corrected.
No, I think I know who you're talking about. At least in your example, because I always use him as my example of when's the last time you could name Tom Cruise's character in 3 films in the last 5 years. It's like, you always know it as this is Tom Cruise, that Tom Cruise is playing this part. And it's because, I think he is part of that list that you're talking about of people who have let it get to their heads. You're a person, and sure, yeah, you're able to do great things. I mean, look at like Angelina Jolie, that she does great humanitarian work, and so she uses her superstardom for good, versus using it for being just an angry person.
I feel like probably the best example that doesn't directly hurt anybody too much, other than the name I'm about to drop, is Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh.
I feel like she's very much like just in her own world, and nobody's going to tell her no in her immediate circle because she's been placed in almost this upper pedestal of people, right? She's no longer Gwyneth Paltrow the person. It's like Gwyneth Paltrow, the pinnacle.
Right.
No normal person could pull off Goop and like all the shit he's done with Goop. If I on the street were to walk up to you and be like, "Hey, I'm going to sell you this sticker, right? And if you put this sticker on, it's going to do very great things for your mental well-being. Also, it's like $200." You'd be like, "What the fuck are you on?" And be like, "What do you mean? I'm Gwyneth Paltrow." But that's besides the point.
Right.
That should apply to any actor or actress. I feel like I don't know how you would instate those things. I'm not saying
It's more, I think at that point, like, you have to rely on the culture, or of the society, right? Which goes more into Abby's point of, if we stop seeing them as these like superstar, uh, big name people, and see them as the people that they are, most likely they'll follow suit within that of themselves. Of like, you know what, I'm not all that. And a lot of times, there's a good number of actors out there, and like they're big name actors who are extremely narcissistic, and that's why they're there. That's why they got to the point where they're at, because they didn't care who they took down getting there. They just knew that they had to get there. And I think those are the rare exceptions, because there's always going to be exceptions to everything. No, I think by teaching us, as in the non-Hollywood-esque people, and starting that first, right? So like, let's say the big dream happens and we all make it big, right? Well, we have this mindset already now of we're just regular people, and so let's bring that into Hollywood and kind of lead by example, because I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, any sort of good leader, or some of the best leaders that we can look back into for all of time, always led by example. Washington, Alexander the Great. He used to charge into battle with his men.
This is true.
And I think our generation has also entered like this cancel culture as well. I think that's an important topic to touch on. Yeah. We see it daily, and something that we've been faced through in our generation as well is like Vine, TikTok, YouTube. It's like a constant circulation of media that we're put through, and not only does it affect like our mental health of just like scrolling, but we're just quick to judge the content that we see.
Yeah.
And people are often posting mean comments towards celebrities. But you just, like you said, you have to see them as everyone else.
And that's like kind of touching on like cancel culture and all that. Like, I don't remember the exact context, but it was something where I just felt like that was off, and I just didn't really agree with whatever opinion was stated on Twitter, and it had like hundreds of thousands of likes, and a few of my friends liked and retweeted it, kind of thing. And I was like, something's off here, and I click on it. Literally, all I do is just click on it, and then right underneath is like all the proof to disprove whatever they just said. And that's kind of the danger of first off, our society right now is we're very lazy and quick to judge, like Abby was saying, of like, oh man, yeah, that is shitty, retweet, and you just spread misinformation. I was talking to my buddies that are here right now, talking last night really extensively just about a bunch of different topics, and one of them was journalism. I had to teach a class earlier this semester about mobile journalism. So, during like the Capitol riots and stuff like that, there were journalists out there with their phones and live tweeting what was happening. And that's mobile journalism. And so like one of the biggest, and like for me, the most important part of that lecture that I gave was what happens when you're wrong, right? Let's say I said 7 people died in a car pileup, but only 4 people died. Once I find out, oh wait, I spread misinformation, it's on the journalist or the original person to give out the news. It's on them to go back and say, hey, I'm wrong, I correct it, I apologize, and then you move on. And then you correct it, and then you correct the people who have shared it and say, hey, you're wrong because I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and then you move on. And that's how you treat those situations. And it's almost like we should make social media and things of that sort a class, of like, this is how to handle these situations, because you can spread a lot of lies very quickly on social media. And sometimes it's a kind of little lie, but very personal, of like, oh, so-and-so cheated on so-and-so, and didn't happen. Or it could be a big lie, like 80,000 people were killed here by this guy, but it wasn't this guy, it was something else.
It's true. It's integrity in media it's harder to sort of certify, because if you think about sort of the classic media eras, at least in our very limited example of just within the United States, you think about your big ones like the Watergate scandal, for example, how extensively that was reported and how in-depth that reporting was. Because while it was, yes, who can break the story first, you weren't on the same time crunch that you are now. Stories are instantaneous. It's as it happens. Watergate unfolded over a series of months. And even then, like, I feel like Abby's talked about, this constant circulation of media has reduced the cycle and the impact that events would normally have to, I mean, days at most. Days, because we're inundated all the time with new stuff. So it's like, well, how can I care about that happened a few days ago when there's this happening right now? And it's just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. The amount of things that we've been subjected to, I mean, compare at least that sort of mental load to somebody who lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago. The amount of you would never witness that much in your entire life, let alone what we've witnessed in just 20-25 years.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we have enough information right now, probably in just the last year, and we have of course, I don't know what exact number, but we have a multitude of times more information than probably a lot of generations before us within the last year, let alone, the last 20 years.
Yeah, and something that we talk about in my film classes is when you watch the news, because there is just so much bad information circulating, they have to take a break in between. So it goes like police violence, cat video, someone set on fire, like a building, or like arsonary, and then it's like dog video. And it's like, as a community, like as like the people watching it, like the audience. It's just like it's traumatizing, and it's like part of our brain turns off and we have to desensitize.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, after a while, especially like what it was like 2 or 3 years ago when like it was damn near every week or at least once a month a school was being shot up. After a while, like, oh no, the school got shot up. Like, I was completely desensitized by it. Like, it didn't have the same impact as like Sandy Hook or something like that, which was like one of the first, other than, you know, back in the '90s, but one of the first like modern day school massacres.
Widely televised and covered.
Yeah, and now it's just like, oh well, another school shooting, which should never be, it should never be the case. It should never be the emotion. The emotion should always be being as equally upset every single time. But you know, as Abby was saying, we've had to desensitize ourselves, because if not, we'd just go crazy. The amount of emotions that we'd have throughout the day from just looking at our cell phones or just watching TV.
And the way that we trick ourselves too is so, it moves so fast that we don't see it unless we slow down and sort of take a step back. But you look at it and you could be in the same news cycle and have somebody up there telling you and like, well, where does this lead us on our racial discourse in America? And now, from a local news, television, whatever, here's a video of a puppy, and now he has legs where he didn't have legs before because he has wheels. And you're like, oh, exactly. You can't, to have that stacked back to back, like Abby was talking about, where you have these things that deserve our attention, right? And then immediately cut back to, well, that was a lot to deal with. So let's dumb it down for you and have you process this really cute puppy. Then bring it back up to a completely other topic that is also heavy and deserves attention too. It becomes this constant cycle of back, forth, and you have to decide what, if everything is worth our attention, then nothing is.
Yeah.
So it becomes this very dangerous game of what do we choose? At least I say we. What does the media choose to cover and why?
Yeah, I think it's a fair. Those are all valid and fair points of like, yeah, we need to. So okay, I guess the next question would be, and I'm not saying that we're going to solve every issue right here within this little Zoom meeting.
We'll have enough drinks and we can get down at the bottom of it.
Yeah. How would you go about doing that? How would you go about changing it? I know for me, I would take away 24-hour newscasting.
Absolutely.
Because that's really when things started going downhill, even before social media.
Right. I want to get Abby's take on this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a difficult thing to contemplate. Is there even a solution that could be applied? Because there's people who need to hear the news and need to hear like what's going on in the world. But at the same time, something that I've learned about through film is the way that things are like portrayed in media, the way that like camera angles and like one assignment that I had was watch the news during COVID, but turn the sound off and just actually look at all the elements of film. And you'll see from those newscasts that they try to freak you out. They absolutely do. So if we had news that wasn't so manipulative, then maybe we wouldn't have this problem.
That's a good point too. And I think that's something that sort of ties both your points together is if you put news on that sort of limitation that it used to have, right? You have the 5 o'clock news in the morning, you have the 5 o'clock news in the evening, and you have like your midday news, and that's it. That's your block. You have to decide within that point what's significant enough to cover. You're not trying to fill all the empty spaces in between all the time, 24/7. And
that would ultimately get rid of what I think is another issue within news is opinion based newscasting of like, oh, you know, to fill those gaps of those 24-hour newscastings. It's like, yeah, sure, you know, 4 times during the day something new does happen, right? And like something big new happens, and so we're going to talk about that. After that like initial hour, you can only repeat it so many times, right? And so it's like, okay, well, John, what's your opinion on what's going on? And that's when I think it becomes not news and more entertainment.
Yeah, it's all about views, right?
It's nonfiction. It's non-fictional entertainment in the like rather than being like, oh, let's go to like a cartoon or something like that. Fictional entertainment versus this is real life and this is what's really happening. This is how I'm seeing it, and it's a story being told, and it's real, and people will share that opinion, or people will make themselves share that opinion because they're like, oh, big guy on TV says it, so I need to follow suit.
I think news falls victim to the same thing that we were talking about just a little bit ago with celebrities, is that news is only as valuable insofar as many eyes are watching it, right? It depends on how many people are currently watching the news. That's what makes it valuable, at least within the eyes of like your broadcasting companies. It doesn't matter if the content itself is valuable. If you get enough people that for the views, like Abby was saying, right? That's what they want. That's what they're after. It's not. I feel like we're sort of straying away from the journalistic integrity for your, I mean, quite literally clickbaity news articles, news coverage. And it's the same thing with celebrities, right? They're only as valuable as we make them.
Right.
And it's the same with the broadcasting companies. I will say over the last year, I feel like that's starting to shift a little bit with everybody being stuck at home, especially with celebrity culture. I've noticed a big shift in that. We don't, at least I personally don't place the same value on celebrities. I feel like, and I feel like they know that too. I remember a couple specific celebrity stunts throughout our pandemic time. Something. Imagine.
Oh Jesus!
God bless.
Oh, 2 weeks in.
Yeah, 2 weeks in, and we'll just make a kumbaya, and we'll all video from our multi-million-dollar living rooms, and we're all the same people, right? They need eyes on them. That's what gives them value. So I feel like that's a shortcoming too of news. It's not the same kind of news coverage that our parents grew up with, or even their parents. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
We're here.
You're asking.
Regardless, we're here, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all that to the side, just like our newscast, bad stuff and now good stuff.
Yeah. So we do a little segment here that Abby, you're well aware of, and it's called "This Is Why We Clink." Yeah, I didn't mess it up this time. I know. And in this segment, we share good things that happened to us this past week. Abby, you're the guest.
Okay.
So what are we drinking?
Oh yeah. Drinking. Well, I've got my cactus cup. I promise it's a cactus. I'm drinking Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And the good thing that happened to me this week is I got a new job.
All right.
Congratulations. That is a good thing.
To that.
Yeah. Clinking with water. Boo.
Yeah, I'm drinking that high quality H2O. Being a good
Tristan,
boy today.
Tell me something good that happened this week.
Well, this is my spring break, and as I said earlier, my friends, two of my boys from Houston, came up to my parents' place with me, and they've been spending the last few days, and I think they're going to go back on Saturday. They're leaving back to Houston, and so it's been nice. I haven't seen them in a long time. We're old high school buddies, and we've just been hanging out. But another thing that happened, like honestly, it was more heartwarming than anything, was my dad and I don't know, I think I told y'all that, at least the podcast, that we got a boat a few weeks ago. On our drive in, at some point, the cover for the engine just fucking blew off and got destroyed behind us. And so my dad and I didn't notice until the next day because it was dark.
I'll cling to that.
Yeah, we'll cling to that. But we rebuilt it. We rebuilt a whole thing it's not fiberglass. It's like just made out of wood. But then my dad just made it really, really, really nice. And then we put new leather on the seats, and it's really, really nice. We were supposed to take it out today, but the weather was a little too windy for us. So hopefully sometime soon we will be taking her abroad.
Well, that's exciting. Thanks for that.
Very good. Very good.
Sam will take us home.
All right. I guess we'll wrap up with me. It's been a good week for me. It's been very busy, but I like that. It gives me some structure and the week goes by pretty quickly. I've already talked about it at a medium length on this podcast, but I've made some connections and had some conversations this week that are very exciting for my near and hopefully far future as well. Hoping to take more steps into voice acting and voiceover work, and it seems like that's a strong possibility. So that is my reason to clink this week. And the more that I learn, the more y'all will learn as well. So
there you go.
Also, I'm drinking Crown Royal Maple, which was at the recommendation of both Tristan and Abbey. And it was a very good recommendation. That being said, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. It has been such a pleasure. Abbey is fantastic. We love having her on and love having her in the conversation. I guess that wraps up this episode. Remember, one all Quack.
No whack.
All right. Much love. We'll see you next week.
All right. Peace, guys.